Welcome to the fastest stop in town. Today on the Masechtas Gittin Daf Nun Beis. We are going to begin on Nun Beis Mud Aleph by the new Mishnah. Says the Masnis Nisaimin Shesamchu Eitzel Bahabayis O Shemina Lehen Avihin Apitropus Chayvel Aser Perusehen. There's an obligation to give Meiser from the fruits when you are appointed as an Apitropus. So Rashi says, what does it mean that you shesaymchu eitzel bayis? Lasois al piv. Lonis man lehen apitropos. You weren't appointed as this guardian, this apitropos. Lo mi'avina from the father. Lo mebeistin. V'il hachi kapitropos hu. Even though you weren't really officially appointed as an apitropos, but nonetheless you are acting upon as one, or if you actually were appointed as one, so then the din is you have to separate meiser from their fruits, which we'll see in the Gemara. Perhaps that's not the case. Apitropos shiminahu av yisaimim yeshava. In a situation where the apitropos was appointed by their father, the father of the yisaimim, so the din is that a shvua is necessary. What does that mean? Kishi yigdalu hayisaimim, that when these kids grow up, yishavu lehen she'ein lo biyado klum mishal lehen. You basically have to make a shua to swear that you did everything properly, that while they were a katan and you were the one that was basically in charge of all the financial affairs, so you would maybe think that maybe this person wasn't so ethical, or maybe didn't do everything right. So therefore, as an adult, now the apotropos is required to make a shvua. And then the Mishnah concludes, minuhu beistin. However, let's say the beistin is the one that did the appointment, lo yeshava, then it's not necessary. And this is going to be explained, the reason behind this, why not. Maybe it should be flipped around. Maybe if you're appointed by Beis Din, then you would make a shvua. However, if the father appointed you, then you wouldn't. So the Gemara is going to discuss that. Says the Gemara, Surah Minhu, you're telling me that if you're not betrupus, there's a chiyuv to take off meiser. The pasuk says regarding truma, atem v'lo shutvin. Only you do it, but not a shutaf, not a partner, says Rashi. You can take your portion, but you can't take your partner's portion without his consent. Atem v'lo risin. Also, a sharecropper cannot take off the chelik of the Baal Habayis, even though he may get a portion, he gets a third, let's say, of the profits. Atem v'lo apitrop. The whole point of this is this, that only you take off truma, but not an apotropos. If it's not yours. So we see clearly that an apotropos should not be allowed to take off the truma. So how could we say that chayav l'asir perusein? So Amar Chistel Ukasha, kan l'hachil, kan l'haniach. It depends what is going on over here. If it's l'achil, so the Yisayimim are able to eat. So says Rashi chayav l'asir. So since they need to eat right now, so you take off the meiser. However, if all you're doing is pointing it to the big storehouse, until they grow up, you don't have to take off meiser. Rather, let them do it when they grow up. And to prove this, hapitropin tarmin so we see it says beferish that you only separate only when it's so the Yisrael could eat, but not for it to again just to be remaining in one place. And you can sell animals, slaves, batim, sadais, ukramim lahachil, in order that they should be able to eat, basically with the money that this is purchased from. But again, not lahaniach. Why not? Why can't you? Why can't you do that? Because shemi ignavu. Because maybe if let's say you sold a slave, so maybe now all of a sudden this money will get stolen. So it's better that you should have these objects and not the liquidity over there. Inami mishum shalach beisavihen noiva kavod hu lahem. So this is actually going to be question 8. So the only question on this daf. Rashi only is either because it's telling us it may get stolen, or because of Shevach Beisaviyah. Okay, fine. Weiter. Umacherin lehen pedais yeno shmanim salasais lahachal v'laniach. Again, you could sell these different things: fruits, wine, oil, flour, but again, not lahaniach. Abayis lehen lulav, arava, v'sukkah, v'tzitzis, v'chol davar sheish v'kitzba, v'yasui shayfer. So a person is allowed to engage in getting all these different things. And you can buy to them a sefer Torah, tefillin, mezuzahs. So all these different things, the apotropos is allowed to engage in. However, they're not involved in giving tzedakah. Says Rashi, because that's something which does not have a set amount. We don't use their money to redeem captives. Anything which does not have a set amount, so that also includes comforting someone who's in mourning. So they're not allowed to step in and basically involve themselves, for better or for worse, regarding the possessions of the assignments. The Gemara says, why shouldn't they be able to stand up and help them as far as for the benefit? You do something for the bad, even though it's on condition that things should hopefully turn around for the better. But next thing you say, fine. You said, what is that? It says Rashi, im danu kidei lizchais. If you judge in order that they should be successful, v'schayvai any ceremony is sudden. So v'ein apitropin r'shayin limchar barachaik. You can't sell something far, v'legal b'karv, and redeem close. Bara, something bad, v'legal b'yafa. My time with the dilma mishtadfin, maybe there will be a wind blast. Fine. V'ein apitropin r'shayin limchar sadais. They don't have the right to sell fields. V'likach avadim, and buy slaves. They can sell slaves, and buy fields. You also are not allowed to sell your slaves to buy fields. My time in Dimalo mishapyon. Maybe someone will end up contesting the field. And Apotropos is not allowed to take a slave and have him go free. Aval, but he could sell the slave to others, and that guy could send them free. That's allowed. That's something which is acceptable. Rabbi Yomi Amrani Afu Naisin Demei Atzmo. He says Rashi Kashem Shirashayin L'Moichrin L'Cherem. Just like you could sell him an evet to someone else, Kach Heim Rishayim L'Kabel Kesef. They can also accept the money. Miyad Ha'eved Atzmo B'Taras Mechira. V'yotzrim Neshehu K'moichoi. K'moichola. Right. V'sarach L'Chashev, and you need to Imahen. You need to calculate with them ba'achraina. Okay, says Rashi, Kishiyigdalu, when they grow up, these kids, these Yisayim Ashim Imahem, you make a calculation. V'yishava shlo nisha b'yad klum. That again, there was nothing remaining there. Rav Shimon Gamliel Omer Eno Sarach. No, you don't need to make such a shvua. The Eno Yisen Apotropin Noshim Avanim Katanim. Also, we're not going to appoint as an apotropos women, slaves, or children. However, iminon of the Yisayimim, if let's say the father of the Yisayimim did appoint any of these people, then Hershus Biyadai. So because if that's what was done by the father, that was done. But we're not going to appoint these people. Hahu apotropos. So we have a story of an apotropos. The Havi Bishvused Rameir. He was in Rameir's neighborhood. The Havi Kamazavin Arata. V'zavin Avde V'ishafka Rameir. So he was involved in selling land and purchasing slaves, and Rameir didn't didn't allow that. Achvole bechelme was showed to him in a dream, Ani laharois, I am destroyed, Yato livnois, and you are to build. If Hilhachel Ashkach, he still didn't pay any attention to that dream. Amar Dibri Chalamis Lumal Maridin, the fact that you have a dream, Lumal Maridin, it's not something that you have to be concerned of. Fine. Hanu Betray, there are two people, the Ikri Bahu Satan, that they encountered the Satan, the Chobe Shimshe, every Erev Shabbos. Havi come minsu bahadi adadi. They would like be quarreling with one another. Ikur Rameir Lahasam, so Rameir encountered them. And Achbinhu Tlasabe Shimshe. And he stopped them for 3 of these Erev Shabboses. And the Avad Lahu Shalama, until peace was made. Shami de Kaimer, he overheard them saying, Vai de Afke Rameir, Lahu Gabra mi Bese. Woe is those the Rameir who chased away this person from his house. Says Rashi, Shamayel Satan de Kamer Vai de Afke mi Bese. Weiter. How apitropis? So we have now another case of an apitropis. The Havi b'shvus Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi. The Havika mezavenar mezaventuri. So he was selling land for oxen. No one said a word. Savok Rabbi Yossi. He held like Rabbi Yossi, saying, Rabbi Yossi miyomai lo karisi li ishti. I never called my wife ishti. Lo shayri. I never called my ox an ox. El ishti basi, shari sadi. I called it my field, and therefore it wasn't an issue for him to transfer from a house to a field, if you will, to an ox. Says Rashi, ishti basi shekot tzarchi habayis al yada nasim he ikr habayis v'chein short ikr shel sada. Hanu Yasmi. So now the Gemara says another situation of these Yisayimim, that they relied upon this particular person. Havilahu Torta. There was this shore, this ox. Shakla, they took it, Vizimta Nihelayu. And they were engaged in the business transaction with this ox. Asu Kroivim. So the relatives of the Yisayimim came. What exactly happened with this woman? In this situation where it says it's Yisayimim who are Samich by the Baal Habayas. But the shore went up in price. So her answer is, yeah, it went up in price, but it was in the demand, it was in the rishus of the lokeach, of the buyer. And therefore, that's why it doesn't make any difference, even though the price of the ox went up. Abahaloi nikite dami, we didn't get money. So Mahuim Cain had a Rav Chaniloi bar Idi, Amr Shmuel. The Amr Rav Chaniloi bar Idi, Amr Shmuel, Nechsi Yasemim Harhin Kehektish. The din is, when it comes to hektish, we have certain ways that it should be in the up and up, better situation for hektish. And it's the same thing when it comes to the Nixi Yisayimim. V'makni el b'kasva. Even though normally a kinyan is with Mashicha by pulling the object, when it comes to hektish and Nixi Yisayimim, it's with kesef. Says Rashi, Harin kehektish, Dichsiv v'nosana kesef v'kamloi. V'shaychvu Mashicha. Doesn't mention the Mashicha. Chamri the Rabbana Ukva, the wine of Rabbana Ukva, Yasva Mashchuha. These Yisayimim did a kinyan Mashicha on it. Be Arba, and it cost 4. Arba. It was 4 per barrel. The Yakir, and it became worth more. Become Beshitat Shita. It ended up becoming worth 6. It was worth 6 per barrel, not 4. The question is, now that went up in value. So how much? So what's actual the sale. Also with Rav Nachum and Amar Ulahu, Hainu Rav Chaniloi Bar Idi, Diom Rav Chaniloi Bar Idi, Amar Shmuel, Nixi Yisayim Hein Kehektish, Lamakti El Bekasva. The Kinyan is with Kesef. So the fact that they did the Mashiach already at 4 doesn't matter. The fact is, it went up to 6. So now, when it comes to the Nixi Yisayim, it's at 6. And this is what the Gemara is going to discuss here. Again, normally when it comes to Metaltalin, a Kinyan is through Mashiach. However, when it comes to Nixi Yisayim and my Hektish, it's with Kesef. Mashach Peri. Let's say you actually did Mashiach, Miyasmi. So you had the assignment, they had fruit, and someone bought them and did Mashiach on it. Now the din is, let's say Yaker, let's say the price went up, Hainu Chaniloi Baridi, which means that the assignment can still retract and request the higher price, even though Mashiach was done. But since Kesef wasn't given over, so therefore it wasn't a purchase yet. On the other hand, let's say the price went down. So that guy's going to say, oh, so now it's only worth $2, so now I could save some money in that way. No. The din is, since when it comes to Hedjit, Mashiach would be the Kinyan, and therefore we don't care that it went down. You have to pay the higher price. So too when it comes to Hektish and also Nixi Yisayim. Now, that's someone who wants to buy the fruit from the Yisayim. What happens if Amshichu hu peri liyasmi? The Saimim are the ones that purchased the fruits, and they actually did Mashiach. So Yaker, if the price goes up, and therefore they only have to pay the lower price because they already did Mashiach, and that's when they were kainet. Zol, but the price went down. So we thought, well, maybe in that situation, the din is that even though Mashiach was done, so the reality is, now that the price went down, maybe they can pay the lower price because they didn't pay. So Ramuleh, Rav Sheisha, Bered Ravidi, maybe not. Harahi Ladidhu. And that would be the case. If they did Mashiach, okay, and it was worth, let's say, 4. Now it went down in price. We say, well, I didn't pay the money yet, so therefore, since I, the Yisrael, didn't pay for the fruit yet, so the problem is that's not going to be good if that's the way out, because the zimnan the mistarchi leperi. What if you say really need fruits? No one's going to actually really want to do business with them because they know, even though they did Mashiach, if the price goes down, they're still going to be able to pay a lower price. So therefore, they'll end up saying you have to pay up front, and we don't. Therefore, because of that, we say no. And if the assignment did Mashiach and the price went down, we say that they still have to pay the higher price. And that's in the interest of the assignment. Yoiv Yasme Zuze, let's say the assignment actually paid a peri, but they didn't do Mashiach. So Zol, if the price went down, so therefore we should say that just like when it comes to Hektish, it's considered to be a Kinyan, so this is also a Kinyan. And the fact that the price went down doesn't matter. A Yaker, let's say the price went up, so Savramina Hainu Rav Chaniloi Baridi. Maybe again you can say, well, the price went up, so therefore we go busted the money. Or Malahu Rav Shishavrid Ravidi Harahi Ladidhu. Again, it's going to be bad for the Saimim in this situation as well as we continue in Bezim and Bez. Yasal Meimar Lahu Nisrafu Chitchem Be'aliyahu. That people will say, let the food burn in the Aliyah. Says Rashi, Shahari Kinyasam B'mois. If Kinyan is done with money alone and not with Mashiach, so all the money, all the food is still in the hands of the seller. It's in the storage house. But he can say, you know what, there's a fire, too bad. I already got my money, and therefore it doesn't make any difference. So in this situation, better that we should say that they should go Basar Mashiach. So therefore, again, if the fact that they paid the money, we should say that they should also be required to wait until Mashiach takes place. Even though the price goes up, and therefore they'll end up having to pay more money, but it's better because otherwise they're going to have to worry about, again, the issue if something happens to this grain at this point. Back in the Gemara, Yaivulhu Zuze Liyasmi. A peri. Someone gave money to the Yisaimim for fruit, which means the Yisaimim are the sellers of the fruit, and someone's buying it. Now, they gave them money. So, if let's say now the price goes up, and therefore we should say that, well, Mashiach wasn't done, so those buyers will have to pay more money. Zol, let's say the price went down, maybe we should say that, well, the price went down, they have the right to be able to refuse, because they did not do Mashiach yet. Again, it's bad for the orphans. The Zim maybe they'll need money. No one's going to give them any money until they actually do Mashiach. Rav Ashi Anav Rav Kahana Chasminan Ashtara the Ime de Zeira. We signed this document. Yasma demizabna or Lakarga, when it comes to Yisaimim who sold land for tax, below achar zarta, without it being announced. The Amr Nahardoi Lakargal Mizayni Lakvura Mizamninin below acharazta. You can sell these things even without announcing it. Says Rashi. Basically, there's a typical thing that you're supposed to let people know for 30 days that this land is being sold. However, if it's necessary for you to be able to pay for taxes or for mizonos or for kvur expenses, so you could do so even without these announcements. Back in the Gemara. Amram Sabah, Amram, he was a dyer, D-Y-E-R, aputrapa diasmihavi. He also happened to be an apotropos for Yisaimim. Also kroivim l'kamed Rav Nachman. So the relatives went to Rav Nachman. Amalei, he said, kolovish umichse me'asmi. He's wearing, enjoying the garments of the Yisaimim. He's deriving benefit from it. Armalhu kihechi delish tamon mili. He says that just like I heard his words. Says, what is that? So Rav Nachman says Rashi, V'sarcha Yisaimim hu shehei nira ka'adam chashav. Ka'achal v'shasim ididhu v'lo. He's eating and drinking, and he's not wealthy. Says Rashi, Enu Ashir Lasos Yitzios Halalu Mishalo. So why is it a good thing that he's doing this from the Yisaimim? So Emer Mitzia Ashkach. Maybe he actually found a Mitzia. Maybe it's not theirs. Avakal Mafsid, but the Yisaimim are losing out. So Amalahu Aisul Itzahadi, bring me witnesses. The Mafsid, the Yisaimim are losing out. V'islikine, and I'll get rid of him. Rav Huna Chavrin Mishmei the Rav Apitropos Shemasid the Masid. If you have a situation where Apitropos is causing losses for the assignment, Misal Kinan Le, then we will in fact remove him. The Itmar Apitropa the Masid Rav Huna Omarav Misal Kinan Le. The May Rabbi Shil Amrilu Misal Kinan Le the Misaklinan Le. Then in fact we will remove him from the position. Okay. Apitropis shiminahu aviyasemi mishal. So we had this whole machlokas. If the apitropis was appointed by the father, then he makes a shua. So my time ilab the islay hanamine. If it wasn't for the fact that he got hana from the father, lo havile apitropis, then he wouldn't have accepted upon himself this role. And we're not going to say that he's going to refuse to do this because he has to make a shvuah. He owes the father something, so he'll do this for this guy's kids. Even if he needs to make a shvuah, he'll still do it. Minuhu based in lo yeshava. Based in appointed them no shvuah because milsab almahu de avid lo beidina. He's doing basically a favor, if you will, for Beis Din. Toivus Chinam, Rashi says. And because of that, the Ramas Alei Shua Asilim Nuye. If you're going to force this guy to have to start making shuas, he's going to end up refusing. He's not going to want to do it. So we want to make sure that there's an apotropos. So if the case of the Beis Din does it, he's not doing it because he owed the Beis Din any favors. So therefore, he may not want to do it then. Flip it around. So my timer. So why the other way around? Because minuhu Beis Din yeshava. Why, when it comes to Beis Din, should you make a shvua? Because because everyone's going to know, why did the Beis Din choose me? It must be that they think I'm a great person. So I get a lot of hana that people will now recognize me, that the Beis Din thinks I have a good reputation to be doing this. That they rely on me. So therefore, if I have to make a shvua, okay, so what? I still have this great honor. However, Avi Yisaimim, if it's just some guy that appoints me to do it for him, lo yishava. Because milsa ba'almahu, I'm just maybe his friend. The Abdi l'hadadi, I'm doing something for him. The Ramas le'shua aslim nui, but if I have to make a shvua, forget about it. Amarav Chanan barami, Amar Shmuel hilchas akabashol. The halacha actually is like this opinion of Abashol, that when it comes to Beis Din, you do make a shvua. However, not by Avi Yisrael. Tanya Rabbi Lezer ben Yaakov Omer Zevazeh Yeshava. No, in either situation, you make a shvua. The halacha kedvarav. The halacha is actually like him. Tanya Rav Tachlifa bar Marava Kamei Rav Avoy. So it's said in front of Ravo that Abitrapa Shiminahu Avi Yisaimim Yeshava. If the father is the one who appointed you, then you make a shvua. Mimnei shunaisi sachar, because you're a nice sachar, which means you're getting paid. So you're bringing a kav and you're measuring it. Because where do you see anywhere that he's getting paid? He's kinoise sachar. He's not actually a nice. He's not getting paid, but he has the equivalent of being a nice sachar, because as we said, the fact that you did it, that you're choosing to accept yourself to be appointed as the apotropos, must be because this guy did you a favor. So therefore, it's almost like you're a nice sachar, and therefore, because of that, you got some type of payment. So therefore, you're going to help him out, and therefore, for that reason, you will make a shvua. Ad kan.